Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for the afternoon, His Excellency Ambassador Hussien Hareedy, the former assistant to the Foreign Minister. It's a very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon, madam.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your time and for joining us today. Let me start, Your Excellency, by talking about some of the recent developments on the ground. We are seeing the escalation of the conflict, the spillover of the conflict into Lebanon now, with lots of sources and attacks happening as well on Lebanon. How do you see this recent escalation, Your Excellency?
Well, it has been expected. Of course, undoubtedly, this comes in the context of an Israeli strategy of trying to annihilate any national resistance movements, whether in Lebanon or in occupied Palestine, whether you are speaking about the West Bank or the Gaza Strip. And after the assassination of Yahya Sinwar, the Israeli Prime Minister made a statement in which he said that regardless of the assassination, regardless of the elimination between commas of Sinwar, the war would continue until achieving what he has always termed total victory. No one knows what he means about total victory. And it's a very vague objective in the context of Lebanon and occupied Palestine. It seems to me that total victory from his perspective equals the total annihilation of the people of southern Lebanon and of occupied Palestine in the Strip and in the West Bank. So the war would go on. And I don't expect it to come to an end before the American elections next month.
Indeed, Your Excellency. Now, we've seen the situation as well on the ground in Gaza and the Gaza Strip, experiencing further deterioration. Just yesterday, over 33 people were killed and over 85 wounded, and several houses were hit in Jabalia, in one of the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps. And we're seeing reports on the ground from health officials, calls for more fuel, medical supplies and food to be sent immediately to some of the hospitals in Gaza that are overwhelmed by the number of patients and injuries. The situation continues to deteriorate in Gaza, and still mum's the word from the international community.
Well, let's forget about the international community, madam. The international community has been witnessing
atrocities.
The atrocities and the Israeli aggression, and it hasn't moved as if it won't care, it doesn't care about it. So, as far as we are concerned in Egypt, I hope that we stop talking about the international community. Where is the international community? I guess the main question now is what we are going to do as Egyptians and Arabs to stop the Israelis from committing this aggression and committing these atrocities. And we know fully well that the true objectives of Mr. Netanyahu and his ruling coalition is to push Palestinians out of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and to annex the West Bank and to keep the Gaza Strip under Israeli security for the next 10 years, according to what the Israeli Prime Minister stated some time ago. So the international community is watching what's going on. The United States keeps providing Israel with arms, with ammunition, not only arms and ammunition and bombs, but also it has deployed one of its advanced anti-ballistic missile systems in Israel in the last few days, with 100 American troops on the ground in Israel, while Israel is committing these atrocities. Other Western countries, just to name a few, Germany, France, the United Kingdom have been providing Israel with arms throughout this year, madam. So the question now, the only question is what the Arabs are going to do to stand by the Palestinian people in facing the onslaught, the unstoppable onslaught of the Israeli army against civilians, unarmed civilians.
Indeed, Your Excellency. And to answer that, Mr. Ambassador, if you can assist us, we've seen, Egypt and Saudi Arabia recently. President Sisi hosted the Saudi Crown Prince, and they spoke about the escalation and the situation with Gaza and Lebanon as well. There have been Egyptian-Qatari efforts to reach negotiations or talks of ceasefire and humanitarian aid delivery. Egypt has had a flurry of diplomatic activity with regards to assisting and calling for an end to the atrocities in Gaza. How do you see the role, the diplomatic role being played by Egypt in this regard, Your Excellency?
We are trying hard, madam, but so far the Israelis keep bombarding and keep bombarding in southern Lebanon. And as you said, they yesterday or 2 days ago they called for extra brigades to support their military operations in southern Lebanon. In Gaza, speaking about humanitarian assistance yesterday, Friday, a senior United Nations official said that from October 2nd till October 18th, which is yesterday, only 82 trucks of humanitarian assistance entered into Gaza. So this is, of course, a drop in the ocean of the needs of the more than 2 million people entrapped in Gaza. So there is a lot more to be done, madam, and we'll see how things would develop after November 5th, when the Americans will hold elections, and we know who would be the next American president.
Right. Your Excellency, Ambassador Hussien Hareedy, the former assistant to the Foreign Minister, I'd like to thank you very much, sir, for all your time and your insight, and for joining us this afternoon on our episode of Arab Affairs. And we move on with more news still related to the developments on the ground. At least 33 people were killed, over 85 wounded in Israeli strikes that hit several homes in one of the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps, where residents said tanks blew up roads as well as houses. We have more details in this report. At least 33 people were killed and 85 wounded in Israeli strikes that hit several houses in Jabalia, the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps, where residents said tanks blew up roads and houses. The Hamas-run Gaza government media office said the death toll from the strikes could rise because some people were believed to be trapped under the rubble. Other Israeli strikes killed at least 39 Palestinians across Gaza. Residents of Jabalia said Israeli tanks had reached the yard of the camp after pushing through suburbs and residential districts. They said the Israeli army was destroying dozens of homes daily from the air and the ground by placing bombs in buildings, then detonating them remotely. Residents said Israeli forces effectively isolated the far northern Gaza towns from Gaza City, blocking movement except for those families heeding evacuation orders and leaving the 3 towns. They said communications and internet services had also been cut, disrupting rescue operations. Earlier, health officials appealed for fuel, medical supplies and food to be sent immediately to 3 northern Gaza hospitals, overwhelmed by the number of patients and injuries. Meanwhile, health authorities in Gaza said Israeli forces surrounded the Indonesian hospital in the territory's northern town at dawn on Saturday. More than 42,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's offensive so far.